Hello, this is Becca from Willow Hill Designs. Welcome. And today I am sharing my progress on the K3N Cloth Tales, Catherine's weekly stitch that we're participating in. And I thought I would show where I am at this point. This is my little book that I am starting to work on, starting to do a few things on, putting a few pieces here and there, and it's getting quite thick, so I don't know. I may have to actually add a piece of fabric when we're finished because we're just, I think, halfway through now. So let's see, for a week. Okay, yes, 21, I think it is. 22, week 22. So this is my progress, or my finished piece, for week 22, and this one was comfort. And so what I did for this one was I just chose a piece of fabric that was a sky fabric for the background, and this piece of fabric is a piece of my brother's shirt, and we lost my brother in 2022 very tragically and suddenly. If you've been with me in other videos, you know that I've spoken about it. It was very sudden. He was a nature lover, a hiker, very active person. So it was really quite shocking to lose him so suddenly. But and it's difficult to get beyond that. It's I'm still having difficulty with it because we were so very close. And so this is a little piece of his shirt that I put in the very center of this little page here. And all I did was just do some kind of satin stitching, but very unevenly around the opening here. And sort of with an almost a very pale indigo colored DMC floss, and then I did an outline stitch with a darker, this was actually a variegated blue and purple, and then I did some running stitches in the center here. And then for the buttonhole stitch going out, I used a medium blue. I just thought it kind of tied in with everything going around, and this was the first time that I've ever used the buttonhole stitch in this way, and it was a little bit tricky. It was counterintuitive for me. I wasn't sure where to go each time, so it was interesting. It kind of made you stop and think of what little cells you wanted to create and which ones you wanted to close off and where you wanted to begin new ones. So this was fun. I don't know what this looks like really. I see the sky, but I don't know what all of this looks like here. It's just interesting. I love it. So, and I just wrote on here, comfort. Count your comforts or your blessings in times of sorrow, and it will bring comfort. And that is true when you are grieving or feeling sorrow, to think of your comforts, those memories that comfort you. It does definitely help and carries you through. And I just wrote down that this is a piece of my brother Fred's shirt that I've included on this. So this is something nice to look back on, and also for my children and my grandchildren. And because I finished this one a little bit early, I went ahead to do another one of the weeks in the very beginning that I missed. I jumped in on week 10. So this, I think, is from week 7. And this prompt was love. And so I just chose, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different red and white fabrics that I have. And just tore the edges. These are torn. Here's one here. Here's another piece. Here's another piece. This is another piece. And lastly, this one. And I just chose to do some different embroidery stitches on there to attach each piece of the fabric down. This is Lazy Daisies, kind of in a flower fashion, some running stitches, some little stars and X's, cross stitches, some fly stitch that are attached together here, and French knots, and then some double running stitches here. And then all the way around the edges I did blanket stitch. And this was a little piece, an old piece of a cutter quilt. It was definitely a vintage quilt and very worn, and it had hexagons on it. I almost hated to cover them up, but I like the fact that it is sandwiched in here and preserved in this little heart. And the back of the heart, the back of the quilt, was yellow fabric. So, and it's very, very worn. It's very threadbare. The fabric is very fragile. So it's kind of nice. It's all enclosed here, and I think it'll be preserved nicely. And I just put a little piece of muslin across the top of this heart so that I could stitch it to the page and flip it up. And I just wrote very simply, love, and my family is everything. I would have to list them all. Of course, a couple of the people that I thought of were my mother and my nanny, very much especially, but of course also my brothers, my sister, my husband, my children, my grandchildren. So I may actually write everyone's names out, but I thought I would cover it all with my family is everything, and that is week 7. And so for week 23, which will go here, we're starting, I think it's 2 weeks of a crazy quilt project. And I had some little blocks from a crazy quilt that I had started a while ago and I've been working on. And these are little pieces of fabric that are just random little bits of fabric that are cut off of different projects. They're all tiny pieces, small pieces, nothing really very large in here. And they're all done in crazy quilt fashion with a center, usually something more than 4 sides, but let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, usually more than 4 sides, so that it's not a square in the center, and then just radiating out with little pieces of fabric. So I thought, why reinvent the wheel? I'll just choose one of these. So I'll just share some of these with you. That's one. And I have them in groups of 10 because I'm going to make a little quilt of 10 rows across and 10 rows down. And at the center of many of the blocks are Beatrix Potter fabrics, because I love Beatrix Potter and her artwork. And so that will be at the center of many of the blocks. And I'm not done yet. I think I may have 80 or 90 done. So these are just fun little, and they're all sewn on a muslin foundation. I think this is about 4.5 inches square. See? It is, yes, 4.5 inches square for each of these little fabrics. And so I'll just show you some of these quickly. I love the bright colors in them. And in some cases, like this one here, where you're spanning a longer seam, I would join 2 pieces of fabric. So just putting these 2 together and then adding that strip to this long seam here. And I did that in many different places in these blocks. So these are some of the groups of 10. And again, Beatrix Potter, I think that's Benjamin Bunny's father. Just all different fabrics, just everything that I have in my, I have a big box with scrap fabrics, and then I have started to break them down by color. I made some fabric cubes, and I showed that in one of my videos. I'm not sure which one it was now, but I made these fabric cubes and they're sorted by color. So that's really nice. When I'm making some of these, I just go through and decide what color I'd like to put on there. And it just makes it very easy. If I want a green or a blue or reds, pinks. But I just love these. I think these are just precious little gems. And the nice thing is that when I look at the fabrics on them, on each block, I remember what quilt I worked on using these fabrics. And I think when I put these together, because there are so many seams, I will be putting sashing strips, and I think I'm going to be using black sashing strip, and they'll be narrow. I think it probably an inch, half an inch or an inch wide on each sashing strip. And I think that'll just set them apart nicely, but it'll also be less complicated and less bulky for me if all of those seams were running into each other. I think pressing and everything, I'd have to press open, and that would make it definitely difficult. So I think a sashing strip with each block is the way to go. These little bunnies, I think this was Benjamin Bunny when he had gotten in trouble. And it's just fun. It's kind of like improvisational piecing, where you just grab a piece and decide where you'd like to put it. Now this one is just all kind of diagonals, which is interesting. And when I lay these little blocks out, what I will do is put them up on the design wall, and then I can move them around according to color and just see where I would like to put everything. Here's another one with Beatrix Potter fabric in the center. This one not. But just such pretty gems. I just love this. I may actually make it larger than 100 blocks. And they're very, very fun to make. And when you're doing the outside strips, I try not to make them too narrow. You don't want anything, you don't want a 1/4 of an inch here. You want at least enough so that you can put your 1/4 inch seam allowance to join your sashing strips on these. But each one is so unique and different, and just represents all of the different fabrics in my sewing room. My sewing room is filled with gorgeous fabrics. Another Beatrix Potter, another little, I think this is Benjamin Bunny's dad. And a flower. I almost chose that one to use for my weekly slow stitch, or this one. And this one is not quite finished, so I will be adding a piece here, across here, and a piece down here, and it looks like I may need to add a piece here. So, and this is a Santa in the very center here, a Santa with some little children around him. This fabric was given to me by my friend in England, and I absolutely love that fabric. So that one's not completed yet, but I'm going to choose from one of these. I'm not sure. I thought this one may lend itself nicely to some stitching, or maybe this one. Or maybe this one with the kitty. This is a little kitty here from a Beatrix Potter fabric. I think I may choose this one or this one. I think, and there's, you can actually see here, there was this figure in the center, and then I chose this little tiny piece of green to put here, so some of the pieces are very tiny. Here's an oriental fabric, and just mixing and matching everything, and yet they all go so well. So I'll be choosing one of these four. I'll be choosing one of these to do for my slow stitch project. So I thought I would share those, and so that's where I am right now. And I'll just leave you with my week 22 here. And I don't know if I gave a close-up of that or not, but here it is. So thank you for joining me today, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. Wishing you many blessings. Bye for now.